Hello guys, welcome to Tutorialverse. My name is Umar and this is part 2 of SQL short course for beginners. In the last video we went over the setup and I showed you guys some basic statements. If you haven't already, please check it out. In this video we will be going over table relationships and how primary keys, foreign keys, and unique keys work. So let's begin. Once you have opened up your Management Studio, some of you might have gotten an error that looks like this. If you have gotten an error like this, all you have to do is exit out of here, right click, go to Task Manager, go to Services, scroll down to MS SQL Server. MS SQL Server, right now it is stopped. All you have to do is right click, start it. Once it is running, just exit out of here, come back, connect to Database Engine, and you should have your name there. You just hit connect and you will be connected. I'm going to open up a new query, and once you have done that, just create a new database. I'm going to execute that query now. Successful. I'm going to change my master to example, so whatever I execute a query, it goes to my example database. You can see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two tables. I'm going to create a book table and an author table, and then I will explain everything inside of it. So guys, just for saving your time, I just copy pasted my previous code that I have written down already, and so I'll just go ahead and explain what is going on. In the book table, the book ID has the identity keyword right here. In SQL Server, that means it's going to auto increment by 1, or if you want to start from a certain number, you could say like start from 2 and count up by 1. You could do things like that. And so when you do an insert into, you don't need to be specific to this book ID. It will just auto increment on its own. It will just start at 1 and move on to 2 and 3 and 4 and so on while you keep adding more insert intos. So about the primary key, there are two ways you can write this. So I have a primary key up here. You can write it like this, or you could have it like down here. Or you can have it like this. And basically these two things mean the same thing. For now, I'm just gonna leave it like this. So some people might ask a question like, why would you need a primary key? Well, it is to identify each record uniquely. There can be only one primary key per table, and most of the time you should make that primary field that will always have different values, like my book ID field. It will add a number every time I have a new book. If I make the book name primary key, well, that means I can't have more than one book of the same name, even though it might have been created by different authors, and that wouldn't make sense. Inside of the authors table, we have the same type of setup, like auth ID as a primary key of this table, and auth fname and lname fields. And at the end, I have the book ID field, which is connected to my book table with the foreign key, and it also says references book table book ID. The book before the parentheses means the book table, and inside means that it is going to book ID as a reference. It is good practice to have a column name that is a primary key in one table and it has the same name in another table as a foreign key, which just makes it easier for us as developers to understand the connections. Now I'm going to add some insert intos. And I'm just gonna highlight all of this, or sorry, all of this. I'm gonna go ahead and execute. Once that is complete, I'm gonna execute this one and this one as well. And then I will create a select statement. and you can see that both the tables here, and I'll just explain like what's going on. So the basic idea of these two tables, which represent the one-to-many relationship, is that one book can have many authors, like the authors Noah and Tammy, who have worked on one book, The Lion King. Now let's see how we can create the diagram. Just head over to Database Diagrams, right click, click New Database Diagram. Do you wish to create them? Say yes. And when you see this, just shift click both of them. Say add, close. So this is the database diagram, and we can see the connection between these two tables, where both are connected by the book ID. The book ID in the authors table is a foreign key, and the book ID field in the book table is a primary key. So that, guys, is a one-to-many relationship. Now let's move on to one-to-one relationship. So guys, I have here two tables again, and this time these tables represent a one-to-one relationship. First, I will explain what is going on in the table. So basically, these tables look very similar to the previous tables. So in the persons table, we have a person ID as a primary key that will auto increment, and then the person name. In the birth cert table, we have the birth ID as a primary key that will also auto increment, and then the birth date and birth time and person ID as a foreign key. Also, the person ID has a new keyword called unique that will make the whole column unique. So no two values can be the same, just like a primary key. Also, the difference between the unique key and the primary key is that the primary key can only be used once in a table, whereas a unique key can be used multiple times. Now let's focus on the two new data types that we have here. We have date and we have time. Date essentially will display date in the format of year first, then month, and then day. The time will display in the format of hours first, then seconds, then milliseconds. I'm going to just add an insert into. Alright guys, so I just put in my insert intos. I want to skip over the typing. I think it would just take too long. I'm going to go ahead and explain what's happening. Inside my persons table, I have the person name here, because person ID is already auto incrementing, so I don't need to add the value here. Same thing inside of the birth cert table, where the birth ID is auto incrementing. So for the birth date, which with the date data type, I have it like year first, then month, then day. And for the time data type, I have hours first, then minutes, then seconds. Right now, if I take this off and I run this query, which you can do with the F5 key on your keyboard, you're gonna see, sorry, select statement. You're gonna see that all these decimal numbers here, and so if you wanted to get rid of those, all you could do is put in the amount of decimal places that you want to see, essentially. So if you don't want to see any decimal places, you can just put in 0. If you want to see 2 decimal places, you put in 2. Right now, I don't want to see any decimal places, so I'm going to leave it at 0. I'm going to go ahead and drop the tables. I'm going to reselect all of them and run the query. And now you can see that I've lost all those zeros. And that's most likely you're going to want that, so that's why I put it into this video. So both tables are connected to each other by one column, which is the person ID column. This relationship was created by the foreign key in the birth cert table. So you can see that basically for every person there is a birth certificate, and in both tables there is the same column that are associated with each other, which is the person ID, and in both fields the values have to be unique because no one person can have more than one birth certificate. So these tables represent a one-to-one relationship. So guys, this concludes the end of this video. I will be putting out part 3 shortly. Please like, share, and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.